Have you ever wondered how deep the rabbit hole of betrayal and manipulation goes in the royal palace? Well, today we're treading into those murky waters once again as we delve into the return of Jason Knauf, a man who knows the palace's secrets all too well. Ah, Jason Knauf, a name that's become synonymous with the underbelly of palace politics. His return to the spotlight is as puzzling as it is concerning. Why now? And why, once again, does it involve Prince Harry? Let's take a step back and remember who Jason Knauf is. A former communications secretary to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Knauf found himself embroiled in a scandal that rocked the monarchy. A scandal that, quite conveniently, painted Meghan Markle, Prince Harry's wife, in a rather unfavourable light. The puppet strings of the palace were pulled, and Knauf danced. He played a pivotal role in a smear campaign against Meghan, a campaign that was as calculated as it was cruel. This was not a man speaking out. This was a man delivering on an assignment, a man willing to tarnish a woman's reputation for the sake of palace machinations. The ties connecting Knauf to Prince William are not threads of mere conjecture. They are well-documented ropes of connection, binding the puppet to the puppeteer. Under William's orders, Knauf provided damning evidence against Meghan, evidence that has been widely criticised and questioned. Yet here we are again. Jason Knauf is back in the limelight, and Prince Harry's name is on his lips. It's almost as if the palace can't let go of the Duke who dared to walk away, to choose peace over toxicity. But let's not be fooled. This isn't about Harry or Meghan. This is about a puppeteer who can't let go of his marionettes, about a palace that thrives on manipulation and control. So, Jason Knauf, the puppet of the palace, is back. But why now? That's the question we should be asking, and it's a question we'll continue to explore as we journey deeper into the rabbit hole. Remember the scandalous case against Meghan Markle? Guess who had his fingerprints all over it? You guessed it, Jason Knauf. It's time to pull back the curtain on his involvement. This is the man who, while serving under Prince William, managed to find himself at the centre of the scandal. Knauf, a key player in the palace machine, was more than just a bystander. He was the one providing damning evidence during the entire debacle. And let's not forget how convenient it all was. Knauf was serving under Prince William at the time, and yet he was somehow able to collect evidence against Meghan Markle. It's almost as if he had a vested interest in the outcome, isn't it? But it doesn't stop there. Knauf didn't just provide evidence. He was the one who orchestrated a smear campaign against Meghan Markle. He was the one who painted her as the villain while he stood in the shadows pulling the strings. And now he's trying to wash his hands clean of the entire saga. But we know the truth. We know about his involvement. We know about his role in the smear campaign, and we won't let him forget it. So, was Jason Knauf a willing pawn or a master manipulator? Well, he was certainly willing. Willing to throw Meghan Markle under the bus. Willing to do whatever it took to protect his own interests. And as for being a master manipulator, well, he certainly knew how to play the game. He knew how to spin the narrative. He knew how to turn the tide in his favour. But the truth always comes out. And the truth is, Jason Knauf was a key player in the smear campaign against Meghan Markle. He was a willing participant in the palace machine, ready and willing to do whatever it took to protect his own interests. A willing pawn or a master manipulator? You decide. What happens when the pawn starts to think he's a king? That's the question we're grappling with today as we examine the audacity of Jason Knauf. He's the man who, once tucked away in the shadows of the palace, is now making bold moves in the limelight. And his latest act? Daring to invoke the name of Prince Harry, a man who bravely chose to leave behind the very institution Knauf insists on serving. Picture this, a man who was complicit in the machinations of a smear campaign, who played his part in the vilification of Meghan Markle, now has the gall to bring up the name of the prince who chose love over duty. Harry, who chose his wife and his child over an antiquated system. Harry, who had the courage to stand up to the very institution that Knauf still bows to. The audacity indeed. But let's get one thing straight. Prince Harry is no pawn on Knauf's chessboard. He is not a name to be casually tossed around for relevance or to score cheap points in a game of palace politics. His story, his choices, his courage, these are not plot devices for Knauf to exploit. And yet that's precisely what he's doing. It's as if he's forgotten that Harry chose to walk away from the toxicity that Knauf and his ilk continue to perpetuate. It's as though he's conveniently overlooked the fact that Harry is no longer a part of the narrative that the palace continues to spin. But who can blame him? Without Harry and Meghan, what else is there to talk about? Without the Sussexes, the palace machine grinds to a halt, starved of the drama it so desperately needs to keep running. And so, Knauf, in his audacity, clings to the only story he knows how to tell. He clings to the name of the man who had the courage to walk away from it all. Harry moved on, but it seems the palace, or at least Knauf, just can't let him go. Ever noticed how some people just can't stay out of the spotlight? We're looking at you, Jason Knauf. Despite his less than stellar track record, Knauf seems to have a knack for keeping his name in the headlines. And how does he do it, you ask? By playing the relevance game, of course. It's a game that's as old as time itself. When your own accomplishments aren't enough to keep you in the limelight, what do? You attach your name to someone else's. And in Knauf's case, that someone else is Prince Harry. But let's not forget, Knauf isn't just using Harry's name to stay relevant. No, he's also rewriting history. Suddenly, he's the noble servant, the one who stood up for the institution against the rebellious royals. But we all know the reality is far from that. It's a clever move, no doubt. Because in the court of public opinion, perception is often reality. And if Knauf can create the perception that he was the good guy all along, he just might be able to fool some of the people. But here's the thing about the relevance game. It's a risky business. Because the more you play, the more you expose yourself. And when you're dealing with a public that's more informed and more sceptical than ever, that's a dangerous game to play. And let's not forget, we live in the age of receipts. Every statement, every action, every email, it's all there, indelible and undeniable. So, while Knauf may be able to craft a compelling narrative, the truth is only a Google search away. So Jason, keep playing your game. Keep using Harry's name. Keep rewriting history. But remember this, receipts exist, and you can't fool everyone. Because in the end, the truth always has a way of coming out, and when it does, there's no hiding from it. The public isn't blind. The truth is always revealed, eventually. The stirring undercurrent of public consciousness is no longer a whisper, but a resounding echo bouncing off the walls of the palace. People are starting to question, to probe, to critically examine the narrative that's been served to them on a silver platter. And what's stirring this awakening? None other than the very words and actions of Jason Knauf himself. Every time he attempts to weave a new tale, to spin a new web of deceit, he inadvertently shines a light on the truth. Every comment, every insinuation, every thinly veiled attempt to cast aspersions on Harry and Meghan only serves to expose the deep-seated rot within the institution he so loyally serves. The public is no longer swallowing the lies, the half-truths, the skewed narratives. They're peeling back the glossy veneer, revealing the ugly, twisted machinery underneath. The game of manipulation, the machinations of power, the willingness to sacrifice truth at the altar of public image, these are the realities that the public is slowly waking up to. And who is at the centre of this awakening? Jason Knauf, the puppeteer who thought he could pull the strings without anyone noticing. But the public isn't blind. They see the puppet master for what he truly is, a willing participant in a smear campaign that sought to tear apart a family, to tarnish the reputation of a woman who dared to stand up to the system, to use a prince's name to further his own agenda. So keep talking, Jason. Every word you utter, every story you spin, only serves to awaken the public further. The more you try to bury the truth, the more it rises to the surface. The more you try to manipulate the narrative, the more the public sees through your deceit. So keep talking, Jason. The more you do, the clearer the truth becomes.